Good morning. Good morning. Another wonderful morning here in the middle of Gauteng. I'm sitting in Centurion today. But welcome to Vision 2026, giving expertise a voice. I'm your host, David Bouwer, and this morning we're joined by Paul Tanton, a leadership entrepreneur and founder of U-Vita Crafting Leaders. I've known Paul for some time now, and I must say he's got an amazing methodology that he uses to, first of all, identify the best aspects of individuals so that you can actually speak to them in their own language. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but the main reason and the main topic today is the leadership code. Why different people follow different leaders. And I think this is something that's really important today, especially with the different leaders out there, and identifying why different people follow those different leaders. We all are different, we all are unique, and yet we still don't follow one leader. We follow different leaders, and we're going to go into a bit of investigation onto that. But I'm also joined by our co-hosts, Willem Lombard and Russell John Fagan, Glenn Lees Jones, and Mana Bouwer, my beautiful wife. So here we are today, and we're going to be talking to Paul and asking him from our different experiences what we believe in leadership, and to talk about the subject, why different people follow different leaders. So this is not a political discussion. This is a literacy conversation to explore why different people respond to different.
Paul, I think you must just carry on and tell us about this.
Yeah, okay. Well, let me start. So I think before I get into the methodology, just to say this is a technology that I discovered from Codebreaker. It's basically looks at values. And what I do is I apply this to leadership. And why I got into this is because I just saw through my life that people are not engaged at work. They're almost like they're not there. And I decided to go into leadership to understand how we can make people more effective. People really want to do their best. I've yet to arrive at a situation where people say, I'm going to make sure this company fails. People don't do that. It's how they interact with leaders. So that's what I want to talk a little bit about. So yeah, David, I see you back.
Yes, technology. I think the fiber on my side is not that great. But it's good to have you, and thanks for taking over there and understanding that sometimes technology, you need to just butt in and go for it. So, Paul, I'm going to ask you to take it away, and then I'm going to ask each of our co-hosts to actually come from their point of view and ask questions relevant to your presentation. So, Paul, over to you. Take it away.
Well, I think one of the challenges we have is that we all think everyone thinks exactly the same as we do. I mean, raise your hand if you like the people, you associate with people around, you think these are the guys that I want to associate with. But the challenge is everyone is different. But how do you understand how different they are? And that's really what happens when it comes to leadership. There's some leaders that we look at and we really aspire to be people like that. And some people think, gee, that person's just not doing a good job. And it really ties into what's valuable to you. So I want to talk a little bit about what the B.A.N.K code is. And as I said, this is not my technology. It's something that I've used, and it's used internationally. And part of the link, David, I'm sure you'll share with people, and it has been shared all along, is go to that link and try and understand what type of value is important to you. But it pretty much comes down to, it spells the word bank. Now, side joke, a lot of people say, what is your B.A.N.K code? People say, I'm not going to give you my B.A.N.K code. That's private. That's you're going to draw funds. What are you going to do? So I say, no, I want to know, are you a blueprint person? Are you an action person? Are you a nurturing person? Or are you a knowledge person? Now, really, this should start a couple of bells going off and saying, oh, I like people that ask a lot of questions, or I like people that greet me. In fact, sometimes you walk past people in the passage and they say, morning. And you just they say, morning, that these people are nurturing people. They want to make sure they connect with you. The blueprint people are people that just, very focused. They want to go in a direction. And I'm sure you've heard of DISC. There's sometimes animals that are used, but this is a way of looking at values. And by doing this, we understand whether you are a very structured person, something that looks at action-based, where you want things fast and changed, and then people that are nurturers and knowledge. And that's really the different type of leaders that we get. So do you want me to go into a little bit more about each one?
Please, Paul, do that. Yeah, I think explain it, because a lot of people don't understand what the B.A.N.K code actually is. I've been using it for a while, but I think it's really important to understand how, the different colors, what they mean, and how they associate with different leaders that are out there. Maybe you can, even though it's not a real code, but perhaps you can talk a little bit about it so that people can associate a little bit more about it. Over to you.
All right. So what I do in workshops normally is I get people to complete it, and we can understand, are you predominantly blueprint? Are you predominantly action, nurturing, and knowledge? And so let's make it real. I think, Mona, you've done yours. David, you've done yours. Glenn, I'm sure you've cracked your code. And Wilhelm's cracked their code. So I'm going to make it interactive. Glenn, your first code, what is the first color? Was it? All right.
There seems to be really having problems with technology this morning. Thanks, Paul, and glad to have you on board, by the way. I would, for myself personally, I would actually look at nurturing.
Okay, so I'm going to use this as an example. So anyone that's met Glenn will always know that he's nurturing. For his perspective, it comes from making sure that I greet you. I make sure that everything there's a good relationship. He steers away from conflict, but he loves teamwork, and he really shows you that people matter. Wilhelm, let's go over to you. What is your, if you haven't done it, let's go to David, but if you have done it, please let me know. Okay, let's go to David. What is your first one, David? I know it is.
I'm definitely action, so I'm red.
Yeah. So anyone that's had a conversation, anyone's had a conversation with David will know that it's all about getting to the point where you want to go. And sometimes you're not even up to speed with what he's saying. He's going so fast. He would be associated with someone like Trump, makes great decisions fast and moves, and everyone's trying to catch up where you're trying to go. So he's different. So once again, he's going to look for action-orientated people. Glenn is going to look for nurturing people. Mona, maybe your first one, I think it was blue or orange.
I think mine was a combination, really. Don't think we could really pinpoint one major color, but it was between the nurturing and also I like to know what's going on. So you're going to have to lead me. So I like to know what's next. I have to have a plan. So part is nurturing and tell me what the other color is.
Cool. So I think, and having dealt with Mona as well, it's about structure. It's about, let's get to the meeting. Are you on time? If people are late, she gets a bit stressed out because it's about structure. It's about getting things done. So Russell, while I asked Wilhelm, I'm not too sure whether you've done yours, but can you see the difference? Now, Mona is wanting to connect with people. And what's very interesting, David mentioned Mona is his wife. So opposites often attract, like a magnet. It's a north and a south pole. Mona loves the action of David, and David loves the structure of Mona. The trouble is David never knows where the remote is. He never knows where the keys are. Mona is saying, where did you put the keys? So can you see the difference? Wilhelm, do you know yours yet?
Yes, no, I'm more a nurtured leader. Sorry, I couldn't get the button or something went wrong here. But yeah, so I'm pretty much a little bit of every or close. My numbers are quite close to one another. Yeah, but yes.
So anyone that's met Wilhelm will know, and once again, as someone who's trying to ignite that fire in you, he's going to want to connect with you. He has a long conversation. If he sends an email, perhaps a little bit long, but he's really connecting with you. Now, these are different type of leaders. Russell, I'm not too sure whether you know which your top one is.
Morning, Paul. No, I haven't actually done this. I've just done the one with Robin Banks, which is about the personality. And I think it will also fall into the leadership scope. So on that specific one, what was quite interesting was that I had quite a strong balance on most of them. Less on nurturing, although I do have a nurturing heart, but I don't focus on it. But I was very strong in the red and the blue. Yeah, but I had elements of all of them.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. And this is not a personality. We talk about it, often the code talks about personality, but this looks at your values. Yes, your values is a combination of your personalities. But just to add to the mix, my top one is green. So I ask a lot of questions. So once again, I'm going to look for a leader that's asking questions. If I meet a leader that's not asking lots of questions, I'm starting to think, is this guy really a leader? Because he doesn't link with me. And that is the challenge that we have when it comes to leadership. We see people in the framework of our own values. So I will value a person that asks lots of questions. So as an example, Cyril Ramaphosa, if you look at all the questionnaires and not the questionnaires, sorry, the investigations about a whole lot of things that have to happen. He's asking all these questions. I'm sure you know that person, that leader that just keeps asking questions. For someone like David, it's like, can we just get moving? All right. And Man is going to say, what is the plan? All right. And Wilhelm and Glenn are going to say, but what do the people say? Can you see there's a different way of looking at it? So understanding leadership in that context is so important. And within the first couple of seconds of giving people cards or giving them the link that a lot of you guys who've watched this have completed, you can understand. And I don't think there's a right and wrong way of doing it, but I love this because it really ties into what's valuable. So that's sort of a little bit of a background on how, we understand it. But let's have a look at, there are 4 positions of those colors: your first, your second, your third, and your fourth. I want to focus on the third one quickly, because this is where things really start to happen. And I'm going to use 2 examples. And as David said, it's not political, but if you there's so much in the media about Donald Trump, you'll understand what I'm saying. So his third one, in my opinion, and I have yet to get him to do the code. Perhaps I'll get him one day to do it. But he's such an action person. He's probably not going to take a few seconds to read it, because a lot of people talk about Donald Trump and not focusing. He's very fast because he does things fast. But in his third position is blue. It's about structure. And if you put Donald into a corner, he's going to say, but the rules say this, we do this, we're going to do that. If you look at his tweets on Truth Social, you'll see that he is if things go bad, he goes to the blue, the structure. If things go bad for me in a crisis situation, my third one is action. Now, this is great for someone who wants to sell me something, because if they create a crisis in my life, I take action. Now, I'm not too sure any of you have the third one as red, but if someone's trying to create a crisis for you, you're going to then react. So if no one volunteers, guess who puts his hand up? Paul. So there's no one's doing it. Guess who does it? Paul. Some people in a crisis situation may go over to knowledge, and they suddenly start asking a lot of questions. Some people only go over to the orange one with Glenn and Wilhelm when there's a crisis. And that's when you start asking all sorts of questions. So that was, let's say, Donald Trump. Let's take someone like Elon Musk. I love trying to profile him. Let's take a guess. Which one, Glenn, would you say is his top one?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me think about that one. Elon. I would probably say action, red.
Okay. David, what did you say? You still seem to be on mute.
I'm talking and the mic's muted. Yeah, I'd say red. Yeah, definitely.
So definitely, it's action-based, but it's followed up by knowledge. When he insists to be paid out by his shares, do you think he's worried about the people or about the rules that were there? He goes over to blue. And how awkward is Elon when he's talking to people? It's his lowest one. So Glenn, if you go to say, hi, Elon, how are you doing? How's this? How's the SpaceX, listing and all this tough stuff? He's going to say, okay, what's this conversation about? What can I get? What are you going to do? Right? Have you cloned yourself yet? Have you booked your ticket to the moon? And then, no. He is all about action. So guys, when we understand this, and that's really the core of leadership, because leadership is understanding yourself. If you do not understand yourself, there's no ways that you're going to be able to lead a team. And that's really what I focus on, is to try and understand how people work. And when we put them in the right situation, we are able to really get the most out of those people. And both Glenn and Wilhelm, I know, do similar type of work in terms of getting teams to work. But imagine if you had a team of all nurturers. Madna, how would you be in that team where you want rules and imagine you've got all these people that are just orange?
I won't be able to survive, because I need a plan. I need a
100%.
plan.
Now take someone like Glenn and Wilhelm, you put them in the team where it's all about, get things done immediately and the plan. Wilhelm, how's that going to look for you? You're more going to connect with these people, and how's it going? Does it make sense, Glenn?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Russell, when you do yours, it'll be great to see what yours is. But I know with David, if there are too many, let's say instructions and what we're going to do, David's like, he's looking out the window. He's like my primary school report. Paul needs to focus more, okay? Because for him, it's about getting things done. But if you put a whole lot of action people together, who does the budget? Mona?
No one.
No one. So going back to Donald Trump, he doesn't worry about the ballroom costs. One day it's like 300 million, then it's 400 million. Don't worry, we'll get sponsors. Okay, sponsors pull out. Don't worry, we'll make another plan. Leaders whose action is the lowest tend to frustrate a lot of people, because a leader that's not doing something is a real challenge. You're not a leader, because you don't have people, looking at you. So, and action is very, very important. So for me, I don't think there's a right balance of what the perfect leader is, as I don't think there's a perfect person, as there is no normal person either. Perhaps that's a bit disturbing in this current time. But normality is normal in your own context. For you, normal is what you associate with. So we will always seek that leader that speaks to us. And maybe you don't like the guy's political standing, but if he does the things that you love seeing, you will associate with him. So the biggest challenge we have when it comes to leadership is that maybe that person's seen as the charismatic leader, which would typically be your action-based person. They want fun, entertainment. These are the type of people you say, do you want to go bungee? Yeah, sure. You go to Marina and you say, Marina, don't worry, I've paid for you. Just jump. What are you going to do, Marina?
I would want to. No. I'm the type of person, if you tell me we're going to do this, and consult me first.
No, 100%. So this is a bit of a marriage counseling session, David. Understand that before you want to surprise her and take her out something, give her a little bit of a heads up over there. But that's what leadership is, guys.
Actually, I realize that. I can't surprise her for a birthday.
But I was raised at school. I was raised at school to believe that leaders were only those people who were designated the monitor, designated the captain, designated this. The challenge is leadership starts when you're probably 6 or 7 years old, where you are leading the conversation in terms of what you're doing, who you play with, who you interact with. And leadership is that's why I call it crafting leaders. It's not a once-off thing as you go do, oh, I'm a red leader, I'm going to do this, and there you go. It's something that develops over time. And my desire in the world is to get people at the youngest age to understand that leadership is not the other person. It's leading yourself first. Because if you can't lead this person, how do you lead a hockey team at school? How do you lead a debating team? How do you then go on to lead a family? How do you then go on to lead a small company? How do you then go on to lead a massive company or a country? So I think it's one of those things that, and I'm not too sure where the story comes from, but I often quote it, those people who've been to my workshops, is we think that we want to change the world when we're born, right? And not when we're born, when we're at an age of, let's say, teenagers or 20, we want to change the world. And we go through all these phases, and eventually we realize the last move is that we have to change ourselves. So if we change ourselves first and understand ourselves first, we lead our communities better, teams better, companies better, eventually countries better. So that, we often see it in the wrong way. We want to change those outside of us, but leadership starts over here. And this code is just one of the ways that we can do that. And it's, for me, one of the easiest and the fastest ways to do that. So as I wrap up in terms of what we've spoken about there, and we can go open up the floor to some questions there, David, it's a case of really, we're not trying to say you're a blue or a green or a purple person or whatever. It's got nothing to do with that. It's about being self-aware. Because if you're aware of what your strengths, what the weaknesses, what are passive habits, what are active habits, it just means that we can almost know this tool that we've been given, the body that we're going to be living in for a number of years, can be used in the right way. And when we understand that, we start understanding how we can interact differently with people. And this will change the way that we almost get people to do things, all right? Do our own things. And those of you with children, have a look. And there's a link there for with icons up to 6 or so. You can have a look at, they can have a look at the icons. But go to the youngest age and have a look at your children, and you'll see that those kids are often in a situation where they're the opposite of the parents. So if we look at South Africa and how we can apply it in the context of South Africa, if we are more open, and you look at the best negotiators that we've had in this country when we've transitioned into the, from the apartheid years into a more democratic years, those people that were great leaders were those people that understood the people that they were dealing with. And it's almost like a Covey principle. Seek first to understand before being understood. I think Dale Carnegie also said this as well. Be more interested, or be interested in the person. I think, Peter Drucker, be interested in the person before being interesting. So really, understand yourself means that you change your view of leaders, means that you'll be able to look at the people around you differently, get more information on them, and treat them the way that they want to be treated. David, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. I must say, I've been using your methodology, the bank. Even when I go along and write an email, and putting a presentation together, I go along and assess what those people are, their bank code, so that I can actually address them back in the same language. And, from what you've just explained, I understand why I'm such a great supporter of Trump, because he's an action person and I'm an action person. So my values are the same as his values in that respect. Very, very powerful. So thanks, Paul, for doing that. I think from another thing that I just want to ask Paul before we move on to Mana and to the rest of the co-hosts with regard to their questions. What is where can we use this system of the bank code? Paul?
Literally everywhere. I mean, let's take Bafana. Hopefully, did you record it? Do you know what the results were of the game? Okay, I don't want to spoil it for anyone out there. But in a soccer team or a football team, your action person has got to be the striker, all right? Because they've got to take the opportunity. Your backs have to be your blueprint people. They have to be able to make sure that they're doing the same thing over and over. As boring as it may be, we've got to defend our goals. So you can use it in sport. You can use it in debating teams. Who's the person that's going to do the research, all right? Your knowledge and your blueprint people will want to do the research. You can use it in social clubs. There's certain, people, some of us involved in networking groups. There's certain people that need to greet the visitors. There are other people that must rather do the finances in the background. That's definitely not me, by the way. Blue is my last one. And then you go over to other, applications. So, David, I don't know whether that answers your question, but literally wherever there are people involved, wherever there are values involved, you can apply it. And values apply to people. David, still there?
I think he's really having a challenge today. Maybe we can start with Mana and go to Mana and ask her to start asking her questions.
Yes, I think let's do that. So what I wanted to know was, in my line of work, commercial insurance, people really need to trust me, because they have to trust me with their information, their financials, their livelihood. I actually want to use an example of what we had the other day. Was we've prepared this nice presentation on what this client needs and what he's missing, or what's, and to make sure that he's insured properly. So if something happens that he didn't prepare for, we would be able to do that. And then we get there, and with insurance, it's a lot of jargon, and you need to explain a lot. So this is why you need it. But then the client goes through the presentation and says, "No, take that away. No, what's going to cost me?" And then in the end, "No, you just want to steal my money, because insurance, that's what they do. They take your money and then they never pay." But when disaster happens, he would come back to you and say, but why don't I have this cover now? I don't get that. So how do you deal with a client like that? He wants to see numbers. He's got this decided already, no, you just want to take his money. And especially with business interruptions, for example, we have to ask, what's your numbers? And they're reluctant to give that to you because I can't give you the cover if I don't know what your numbers are. And then I said, no, just take it away because I don't want to give you that information. So how do you deal with a client like that?
So in your industry, Martin, anyone who's selling even life policies, anything that's a grudge purchase, you've got to build trust with that person. Even from a leadership coaching and what we do, there's got to be trust. So the first thing is, how do you build trust with someone? You speak the same language as they do. So you use the link that I've sent. You understand what is most valuable to that person. So this person obviously values the number. But for you in that sales environment, look at the third one. What is the crisis situation? So these guys might be quibbling about the money, but in the crisis situation, maybe it's nurturing for him. You say, but what happens if your factory burns down? What's going to happen to all those jobs? How long is it going to take to build up? Because now you're putting him in a situation where he's got to understand what happens in a crisis. And a crisis, he cares about people. His first value is not people. His first value is money. And making sure that, and you probably find his second one is green. So he's over analyzing. He wants 5 quotes, 15 quotes, more quotes. So by speaking his language and understanding his third position, you can build trust with him and be able to speak his language. So does that answer your question, Marna?
Technology is a problem today. I'm sorry. Yes, absolutely. Then I would like to know, how would you explain the risk differential? How would you explain risk differently to a blueprint, action, nurturing, or a knowledge person? How would you explain that to them?
Okay, so risk, let's go over the blueprint first. Risk is what you're going to pay out by when, how many years you've been in the business. So he wants to know all the bits and pieces. Knowledge person is going to say, what happens if this is caused by someone not on my premises? In other words, will I still be covered if I've got that? A nurturing person says, okay, how are your directors covered? In other words, the risk. What happens if you lose the person? That person's in your business, you need key man insurance. From an action perspective, sir, you want cover tomorrow, we can sign today, but if you, and we can take the premium off, we'll give you a pro rata amount.
Okay, I see. And how can business owners avoid damaging trust by communicating in the wrong style?
Well, I think immediately, if you go to someone, David says he loves Donald Trump because he sees, not loves him, but I mean, he sees the action over there. So if you go to someone the opposite, you go to a David and you say, David, here's the policy. It's 15 pages. I need you to initial each page. And by the way, do your FICA and do this. You've lost, David. You've destroyed trust immediately. So say, David, I'm going to get someone else. Who can I speak to in your organization that deals with these things? I know you're action orientated. I've got cover. From Monday, your quad bike is covered. Don't worry. Here's the paperwork, but please make sure that within the next 2 days, I've got all these pieces of paper, but you are covered.
Thank you, Paul. Over to David.
Thank you. I'm back. The internet's so bad here, so forgive me when I disappear, but hopefully it's going to be more. I've gone onto another internet now, so hopefully it's going to be better. All right, let's go to Glenn. Glenn, I'm sure you've got some great questions there. Over to you.
Thanks, David. And thanks, Paul. It's very interesting, I must admit. Paul, leadership often begins with self-awareness, as I'm sure you know yourself as well. How does understanding your bank code actually help you lead with more authenticity and purpose and alignment?
Well, let's take teenagers. So teenagers are trying to fit in. I mean, your brain is developing faster than your body, so they're trying to fit in, and then they sometimes embarrassed. Even if you've got the latest cars, Dad dropped me off, or Mom dropped me off on the corner over there, so I can walk in, have this independence. Anyone who's a parent will know that. Or don't come to my football match, or don't come to my hockey. So the bank code is an easy way to understand what drives you. And I've worked with, I mean, in the world, over 400,000 people have completed this, and I've worked individually with about 3,000 individual people. So I can pretty much decode and understand it by looking at that. I'm not trying to judge you. I'm just trying to understand you. So the self-awareness of, as a teenager or whatever, understanding that I'm an action-based person, I'm always going to be that person that is going to say, let's go onto the field and ignore the coach. And the coach say, no, this is the strategy. We want you to do this. We want to pass the ball over here. And this action person is already looking over there. And the coach sees this as disrespectful. But the action person sees the coach as disrespectful. My time, I've got a piano lesson after this. Let's get going. I've got to get my fitness in. So that is, by understanding the person you're dealing with means that the coach has to be aware. And I know it's difficult for teachers and coaches because you've got 11 or 15 or 22 people or 40 people in that class. But that's why in workshops, I give people a little sticker and say, okay, this is the red person. So when I talk to them, talk in short sentences, a David style, get it done. The blueprint wants a little bit more detail. What do I need to do? The nurturer says, love me, give me some feedback first. How am I doing? The knowledge person is going to have a lot of questions. Absorb it, enjoy it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. Interesting enough, my next question is quite an interesting one. I actually did a relationship marketing course many, many years ago, and it's a very similar concept around what we're discussing today as well. But I like the fact that the B.A.N.K code focuses really on your values, which is really important. But the question is this: can a leader overuse their natural style and become ineffective?
I don't think so. I mean, this is the challenge that we have in the world. We are unique. I can't want to be more like Glenn. Anyone that says they want to be a Donald Trump leader or a Cyril Ramaphosa leader or a Putin leader, and you're not a natural person of that, it's false. And I think we're seeing a lot of that now. And as a speaker, I have this challenge. I'm on stage and I'm speaking to people. That's the only authenticity there is when I'm on stage, because AI can now recreate anything. They can put a false thing out there. So we're going to try and be a Glenn type person or a Mana person. You can't. So I don't think you can overuse your style. If anything, I would celebrate that and say, I am a nurturing person. Everyone says, don't hug me. I'm going to want to hug you. If I'm a nurturing person, I'm going to go up to you and give you a side hug and say hi. But I can't say to Glenn, don't become a David. You need to be more action oriented. Then you're inauthentic. And we're in a world now where inauthenticity is almost more prevalent than ever, because people are trying to be someone else because they see other people making money, rather than looking at themselves. What can I do to be more effective in myself?
Absolutely. Yeah, brilliant. Which leads me to the next question, specifically around values. What happens when a person's values are ignored in a workplace or a team?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Brilliant question. Lovely question. And this leads to organization design. When your organization doesn't have values, or the people in the organization are against those values, they will leave or they become detractors in your organization. One of my values in my company is curiosity. So the people that are working with me will know that I have a whole lot of questions. And if you don't fit into that environment, if you are just do as you're told, you won't work in my company, because I don't do as you're told. I give you the initiative to say, this is the outcome. Do it whatever way you want, as long as we achieve the outcome. So if you are against those, and there's enough written by the masters of business in terms of Peter Drucker and so on, that says this, that if we go against those values, we actually create disharmony and people will leave.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great stuff. Yeah, very true. Thanks, Paul. Really appreciate that. Back to you, David. I hope you can connect that side.
Thank you. The internet seems to be more stable now. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it. Let's go to Wilhelm. Wilhelm, please go for it.
Thank you very much, David. Yes, something that I'll pick up now. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I thought to myself, why do I like Trump? I like Trump because I don't like him, but in a sense, I like him. And there are certain, now exactly what you explained, there's certain values, there's certain things. So now I understand why I sometimes like people that I don't really like, but there's some things that I like, So if you catch my drift. The thing is, I'm working with teams now, so teams are quite important to me, and I want to ask you, Paul. Teams often fail not because people lack skill; they got the skill, but because they misunderstand each other. Now, how can this B.A.N.K code help a leader improve team performance and collaboration?
There's so many practical examples of projects that failed. I used to be in the ICT industry, and something like 80% of all IT projects failed, not because of the skills exactly, but because the project manager is not connecting with the team. A project manager has got to have a right balance between blueprint, structure, action, and nurturing. Because when you're on a team, you've got to have a relationship and understand, well, Helen's going through a bit of a crisis at the moment. How can we reapportion those resources to somewhere else as a project manager? So in a team, it's critical that you have the balance. And if you look at the combination of these four, there are 24 different personality or different value. We talk about personality types, but they're different roles. If I have a team that are all action, they're going to go out there and there's no structure, there's no one's asking the questions. And you'll look at organizations that fail. And I want to use another example quickly. Marcus Jooste, as part of Steinhoff. And a lot of us on the call might have been affected by the funds that we invested in Steinhoff. But he was the type of person, action and nurturing. If you look at how many people had a blueprint and a structure on his board, it'll be scary. I think there were 2 people with doctorates, Dr. Steve Boyson, and there was Christo Visser as well. These guys had the structure, but why did that company fail? Because there's almost a disconnect between all the guys with finance knowledge and Marcus Jooste. Now, I mean, this is open. This is another debate. I don't want to say who was right and who was wrong. But that as a team was critical. For that company to be successful, they had to have a little bit of each person. They had someone on there that was green, asking the questions. If they weren't asking the questions, why are we buying Poundland? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? No one asked the questions. And I don't know whether that answers your question, Wilhelm, in terms of the team.
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, actually, you did answer something already, but how would you build that balance between using the bank style? So that's important, that to get that balance, I believe, eh?
So when I help companies to hire people, I actually help them script the way that you're asking for a person. So with action person, you're going to, let's say a salesperson, you cannot take a person who's blue and green to do sales. They're going to overthink it. They're never going to call. The action person is going to phone them and they're going to stand up and say, yes, I've made one call. They said no. And everyone's looking and said, why are you saying no? I said, yes, I've only got 9 more to go and then I'm going to make the sale. You cannot take someone who's so structured and say, well, I'm going to phone these people. I've done the research. I'm going to do this. So when you're hiring, look at your own values. Hire people that fit the role of what you want to do, because that's how you build a team. And when you do that effectively, that you have a balance of these people in the focus of the work that you do, then you literally push up your effectiveness by 300%, because now you know that I'm not action, I'm not nurturing, I'm not knowledge, I'm blue. I don't need to hire the same people as me. I have to hire a complement to me.
Okay, cool. Now, what specific conflict patterns show up when blueprint, action, and nurturing and knowledge styles misunderstand each other?
Well, we have a couple on the screen, so I'm not going to expose them. But if you look at it, you can see them both smiling there. But the challenge is when you're doing something, let's take the shoes and the keys example. So an action person is so action orientated. They come back, they just want to, say hi to everyone. They put the keys down, they can't find them. The conflict comes when Magna, as the blueprint person, says, there's a place to hang your keys. I'm not going to help you find your keys. It's immediately going to lead to conflict. The high nurturer and the low nurturer, and this is what happens in families. The one kid's battling, the nurturing parent's going to say, oh, no, spend some time. The other parent's going to say, they must not battle. I battled as a child and let them do this. And the nurturer is going to say, no. And there's always going to be this conflict between the two opposites. So yes, opposites attract, like a north and a south and a magnet. But the challenge is, over time, you realize that we are so different. But then again, you celebrate those differences. So once again, I don't know whether it answers the question, but I think conflict is, and that's in the world. There's conflict. That's why some people don't like Trump, because, and I don't like him based on his political maybe, but I don't like the fact that he suddenly makes a decision, because my action is much lower than other people like David who likes the action.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I just want to get practical now. So how can a leader use B.A.N.K in meetings, performance conversations, and execution planning?
Well, look, I mean, it's very awkward. You don't want to label people, but I often say when I do workshops with big organizations, I say, for the first couple of weeks, get people to put their bank code on their sleeve or something over there, so we can see that person's a blue person. So when we're talking to them, interact with them and say, this is my agenda, this is what I want to do, this is when we're going to start, this is when we're going to stop. But hopefully as a leader, you have some memory as well. So you can look at people and say, oh, Marna is the structured person. So Marna on a committee will always be the person say, guys, when are we starting? What's the budget look like? All right. People like Glenn is going to look more at the nurturing side. Okay. And he's going to focus on that. So you get to know your personality. So when you look at your leadership team, use people, use Marna for finance. Glenn, am I right to say that finance is not the best choice for you first?
I forced myself to look at things like that, but you're 100% correct. It's not exactly my forte, yeah.
Well, Ellen.
Yes, thank you very much. I really appreciate what we've done here, talked about. You know, I'm a life energy, or I focus on quality of life, and I call myself a performance strategist. And I can only see how these things can really work effectively in a team, how it can energize people to do what they need to do, what they love doing. On the other side, and Glenn actually mentioned that if you try to be somebody else, it will only drain your energy. Then you can't be authentic. So it's so important to know your bank code and to operate where you are the strongest. Thank you very much. I appreciate your feedback.
Cool.
Hi. Thanks for that. Thank you for that. I like that, those practical tips that you've given. I'm going to hand it over to Russell, and Russell's got some questions from a sales point of view. Over to you, Russell.
Thanks, David. I think I've got a statement to make, which is open for discussion, Paul, and then I've got a question. So the statement is that, and I'm coming from my experience, I've been in sales my whole life, but I've also been in positions of running organizations, being general manager and MD. So being in that position, you had to wear different hats, but being sales strong, obviously my default will always come from a sales perspective. So my statement is that I believe that a strong leader should be able to shift between the banking system because he leads a team of different bankers. I don't believe that a strong leader should only be focused on that, which is his strong element. In actual fact, I think it depends on the conversation and the room. When I do the sales training, when I teach guys when they go into a boardroom, obviously they have to understand their product. So if I look at Marna, for example, when she goes in, her focus will, let's say there's a board of 8 people, her focus will focus, I'm talking about physical eye contact, speaking to, will be more your financial guy than the MD, because your financial guy should influence the MD to make the right decisions. So you need to get him on your side. I talk about getting the pom-pom person on your side. So my statement is, would you agree with me that a good leader should be able to shift between those different elements, values?
Yeah, the simple answer is yes, but let me expand a little bit on that. So understanding who you are, I have to shape shift to understand you. I can't stay with my leadership style of knowledge. I have to if you're nurturing, I've got to shape shift into when I'm talking to you to talk the nurturing language. And that's what great salespeople do. If you know who you're selling to, and the best salespeople are action and nurturing people, because the first thing is they're caring not about their product, they're caring about the problem they're solving. And they know their product and how they can resolve the problem. So we don't buy a car because we, let's say, want a Bugatti or, whatever, the car that we want. It's to solve something, to get a great name, Lamborghini. It's not about the Lamborghini's power. It's about what that Lamborghini does for us. So that's understanding that person is going to get out of that trademark, out of that value that he's going to pay, he's going to get this problem solved. So 100% shape shifting to that person is very, very important.
All right. Then that will go back into the question that I have, which actually touches on what we're talking about. And that is, when I look at sales specific and identifying the buyer and the value that drives that buyer, your sales guy is meeting all different types of people. So how does he be able to identify, number one, just little keys of each one? So say, for example, a blue person, the salesperson needs to identify that this guy has got a structure that he once followed. So I had a meeting 2 days ago, and they said we don't have an SOP, for example. So that guy, I can identify he's a blue predominant purely because he's looking for that structure. But for a salesperson, to make it easy for them, just to be able to identify very quickly what it is that they're talking to. Because as I discussed with a good leader from my perspective, the salesperson has to be that as well. I always talk about a salesperson must learn to be a chameleon. And when he's on a smarty box, which is a boardroom, he needs to be able to adapt to that person that he's talking to. So if it's a blue smarty, talk to the blue smarty in a blue way. If it's a red smarty, talk to the red smarty in a red way. But is there something that you can just shortly say that salespeople need to look out for that will give them a good indication?
Well, obviously, I mean, the boardroom, the smarties are really challenging, but you don't want to, if you're an action person, you're connecting with the action person, but they're not the decision maker. That's a real challenge, because now you're engaging with someone who's not going to make the decision. So you've got a smartie, you've got to chameleonize yourself, if that's a word, change your color to be the person if the decision maker is the blueprint person, you've got to get the structure so that he understands it, because he's going to be the person that's going to be signing the bill. But the easiest, obviously the easiest way is to send the link, but you can look at people. And when I facilitate sessions and you walk around the class before it starts, you can see the person who's arranged their pen, their paper, their box, everything precisely. That's the blueprint person. Before you've even started, that person, you need to, at 8 o'clock, say, guys, I know we set to start at 8. Can I have your permission to have another 5 minutes because so-and-so is stuck in traffic? He will say, cool. If I start 5 minutes late, that guy's immediately upset, because it's like, I'm here. Can I now go? You said we're going to take a smoke break. So shape-shifting is important to see what they do. And with AI now as well, you can start programming these values into AI and analyze people's emails. You can look at the way they do, the way they dress. If someone's, you can ask them what type of sports you play. Would you rather bungee jump, or would you rather play golf? The golf person, he's not really a team player. He wants to work on his own. The bungee jumper says he couldn't care. This guy he's going to buy. He wants the stuff now. What type of car? Oh, I want a Ford Mustang. So you could almost put colors. I even did it biblically the other day. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Matthew is blue. He's about the structure. Mark is about action, right? Luke is the doctor's knowledge, and John, all about relationships, is orange. So you could almost, good thing they're not 5 people who wrote Gospels, but anyway, but that matched wonderful to 4. So just there are ways of profiling people in terms of that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Russell. Yeah, Sue's got a fantastic question. Thanks, Sue. Sue's asked, thank you for explaining the code again. If you did the code 4 years ago, will they change or stay the same over the years? I think it's a good question, Paul.
It's a bit of a controversial question, because I really believe, and if you read Dr. John DeMartini's books on values, your values don't change. Your role might change in terms of the values, but knowledge will always stay high to me, because it's something that was missing in my life. So at school, I was not the person that excelled, but I excelled after school in terms of knowledge, and I still seek new knowledge. That will never change in my perspective from my experience. But let's say I move into a job where the knowledge is less used. To Russell's point, there's a bit of shape shifting over there. But bottom line, I don't think your values change. Your values are core to what. I can't, if I said to David, okay, from tomorrow or from your next job, you have to be organized. Mana would love that. But Mana, do you see him changing from tomorrow into this wonderfully structured?
There's no way. I think we need a little bit of a subtitle thing going around so we can just understand each other.
So Sue, I hope that answers your question. Okay, so there David's disappeared again. Who else can see the questions?
Yeah, unfortunately not. I think it's just him at this point in time.
No, there are questions on if you look at the comments, that question came up there, but there aren't any other questions at the moment, Paul.
Come through now at the moment, yeah. Okay.
Rosemary, for instance, said that the time you take in taking action on a particular decision is more important than the decision itself. Execution is also important. So maybe you can comment on that.
Yeah. So I'll take a guess, and Rosemary, if once you complete it, I'll be able to see whether it is you or not. But listening to that, I would say that she's action orientated. But you know how difficult it is for someone whose action is at the bottom to take action. And if you look at the profile of the 400,000 around the world that have completed this, action is the lowest. And you look at South Africa, we have a national development plan. Action is the lowest. You know, we're not doing things. One of the biggest challenges salespeople have is that we're hiring the wrong people. So action, once again, is the lowest. So from Rosemary's perspective, she says that, you know, you have to take action. But you know how difficult that is for someone who, and I know people like this, who are blue and green. You know, it's all about structure. It's all about asking the right questions. You get that person to take action. You put them under pressure, and the action is their last one. They will run away. They will rather go and create a new spreadsheet with new data before they take action. So Rosemary, you know, great comment and great observation, but it's seen from the perspective of where you are. So we have to have empathy with our teams and understand where they are, because when we do that, that's where the value of leadership comes out.
There's also a comment from Shamila Karim that says, leaders I respond to most are the ones who make the time to generally get to know their people. They understand what motivates them, where they want to grow, and how to bring out the best in them. Strong leadership isn't about directing people, it's about understanding them. I think that's the essence of what we talked about today.
100%. And Shamila, you'll find that she's probably orange. She's the nurturing person. But I do agree with her. Most great leaders are those people that can build a connection. And let's go back to Marcus Jooste, strong orange person. When there was a challenge and structure, he would take people to the races and they would enjoy champagne. It's about building rapport with people. So you're like a great salesperson as well. A nurturing leader is able to connect, right? No one likes directive. Well, I say no one, unfortunately. And if I look at the poll that you issued there, David, I was under the impression that a lot more people will mark blueprint. It is the lowest one. But people are tired of being told what to do. But what we're seeing in the world is people are still being very autocratic around this, and that can chase people in the opposite direction. And as a leader, if you're a nurturing person and the leader is blueprint, you'll probably leave that organization because you don't like being told what to do. I see the whole lot of thank yous there from Rosemary, so I think I hit her, I nailed her action there.
David, are you back?
Thank you, Paul. I must say, I am back. I don't know if you can hear me, but the internet on this side is appalling. And yeah, so one of my lessons here is to stay where there is good internet. So apologies to all those who come in and go out and so on. So, but Paul, I think that it's what I'd really like is just to go around the room and just ask each of the co-hosts what their take is today about this, and then I'll ask you to do a wrap up. So let's start with Mana. Mana? Mana, go for it.
Yeah, technology really is a problem today everywhere. I think if you stayed on this side, you would have. I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I think it's not only about understanding yourself, but it's also understanding the person in front of you, whether it's your client, your husband, and then finding the middle ground before you start needing subtitles.
David's frozen. I'm not too sure who's next on the list.
Thanks, Mana.
Okay, let's go to Wilhelm then.
Okay, let me do. Yes, I think the thing that's important for me and that I catch, we must know who we are ourselves, become aware, as Paul said, and then also know the people on your team. You know, the good thing about this, that we are not all the same, or that you don't get actually a leader that have it all. That's a problem leader that think he have it all, because then he's not humble. So it keeps us humble to understand that we are not everything, and we need other people, and then let them talk where they are strong in their area, where they are strong. Listen to them, let them talk, and they can give you the information that you don't have or you don't see it. So you don't have to be good with everything. You must just be a team player, because that's the big problem. There's lots of people that are leaders, but they are not team players. And it's not just about me, it's about us, because together we can achieve more. So thank you, Paul. That was great.
Yeah.
Shall I go next?
Thank
I'll
you,
take it away.
Wilhelm. Let's go to
Yeah, he's disappeared again.
Go to Glenn.
Okay. Paul, you spoke right in the beginning, you spoke about knowing yourself, and I think that's so important as well. There's a statement I'd like to make of here. Am I leading from ego? And interesting, Wilhelm just spoke about that as well. Don't lead from ego. Don't think you know it all. Am I leading from ego, habit, or genuine awareness of what others need? And I think that's so important. And that's what I really take away from it. If I had to sum it up all in one word for me, I think I would probably use the word discernment, which for me is extremely important, to actually have discernment and understand. And again, it comes down to Stephen Covey: seek first to understand, then be understood. So, but thank you very much. That was really, very interesting. Thanks.
Cool. Yeah.
All right, so I think that leaves me. I've actually gone onto the link and I went and looked at, because I've never done this. So my first attempt, I didn't really understand because I was listening to you guys. Then I went back because I couldn't realize how it could have already assessed me and I didn't do anything. But anyway, the point that I want to make is I looked at the four different panels that you have, and what explains those different. So for example, values is freedom, flexibility, spontaneous action, opportunity, excitement, blah, blah, blah. And so you've listed those values on each of these four leadership personalities, for lack of a better word. What I realized when I went through it is I do a lot of work with government departments currently, and how I've actually, when I did the research, and I think that's important, everybody, by the way, guys, I'm sorry to tell you, I'm not a Trump supporter at all. But it's not because of any other reason. It's because I went and studied the guy. I went and looked at what both sides. I've never followed American politics before until Trump came on board, and I started following American politics. And it's because I'm listening to both sides to be able to understand who this person is that we call Trump. And unfortunately, the one side outweighs the other side. For me personally, that's why I'm not a supporter. But what I'm trying to say, my takeaway is, I think it's vitally important for us as leaders, specifically leading, and all organizations are selling something to a market. It's vital for us as leaders to be able to go and do the research on all of our potential clients, potential business partners, people we employ. I do like that you were saying, that you have to write your script when you ask the question for employment, so that you can get the right identity of who you want to employ. So I do like that. And I think, funny enough, I would never thought that knowledge is one of my strongest ones. I'm more an action-driven type of person. But I see that certain elements of my day-to-day knowledge is vitally important because I go and do research. I'm busy doing the jobs fund proposal, and I've gone and done research to such an extent that I'm sitting, I'm going, wow, where does this come from? Because I'm starting to get information that I never knew was there. So that's my takeaway. My takeaway is I love the idea that we need to be able to talk to people so we can understand and script. I like that we can understand who they are, so we'll be able to become the chameleon and talk to them. So yeah, I'm going to redo the code and see exactly what your system tells me I am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Russell. I'm glad I'm back. Glenn, over to you.
I've actually gone already.
Have you?
Yes, I've gone already. Thanks. But
right.
yeah.
Before I ask Paul to just wrap up from his side, I'm just going to say from my side, I've been using the B.A.N.K for some time now. I was introduced to it before COVID. Initially, I just thought it was a gimmick, but I've actually realized how true it is for people. When you ask them to do it and then you respond in the way that they towards their bank code, response is normally much better than if I had to just respond in my way, because as Paul said, I like action, I like quick thinking, and yet they might not like that at all. They might be a blueprint, which is my worst. So when I respond to them in a blueprint way, there's reaction. And I think that's something, as you said, you need to be a chameleon to actually talk to various people. And using the bank code is very, very good. So please go along and contact Paul, get to know what the bank code is on his website. I'll put it up before U-Vita. There is a click, you can go along and do your bank code, and it's obviously free. So that's something you can do. I'm going to ask you to do a quick wrap up and just maybe mention where people can get hold of you.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you for that. Thank you for everyone's comments. Look, one of the challenges we have is the world is full of judgment. And we are not judging anyone by saying your action, your knowledge, your nurture, or your blueprint. And what we're trying to do, and we must be humble enough to use other people's systems and to get feedback. I think there's something, I'm not too sure where it comes from. Perhaps it's the fact of being human. We become defensive. Someone says that you're doing something, we respond automatically and defend it, rather than saying, oh, well, thank you for the feedback, let's use that. And a system like this, whether you use birds, colors, disc, bank, or anything, what we're trying to do is we're trying to create an awareness of who you are. We've been created with these wonderful bodies that could do so much, but we are controlled by other people who put a label on us. So this really is the first step in self-awareness. And if we can do this at the youngest age out there, we can get an awareness, I think Glenn put it there, awareness of self and others. Because if you start doing that, you are opening yourself for building a better relationship with people. And as a spiritual person, for me, relationship is the most important thing that we're on this earth for. So if we have that relationship, we can then be able to have teams activated. And my desire, why I live in the world, is to unlock the latent leader, everyone we meet, to improve business effectiveness, excellence, and potential in Africa. And if we can do that, we change the world. We create far more jobs. We create sustainable income for people. We have people where you go to a government department and you love going there. You know, they love serving you. You go to private companies, they love serving you, because we know that 80% of people don't love what they do. So my website's very easy. You'll see behind it, it's just U-Vita.co.za, and then the code for cracking is put there. I'm very active on LinkedIn as well. I'm based locally in Centurion, but I operate nationally. So if you guys need to contact me, please book a session. The links are available. And thank you for the opportunity, Dave. It's been wonderful to interact with your audience and with the panel.
No, my pleasure, Paul. Thank you so much for being here. Apologies from my side for my internet connection. I hope it wasn't too disruptive, but I'm sure everyone was still here while I was disappearing. But next week, we're going to continue this leadership mirror series. We've got a lady from UK who will be talking, and hopefully the internet at that time will be much better. We'll also be doing a newsletter, which will sum up what Paul's discussed today. And please interact with that. I'm going to ask also Paul to go back to commenting. There are a number of comments that have been put on to the LinkedIn and Facebook and so on. And thanks, Rosemary and Sue and others that have commented. I appreciate that. And yeah, have a fantastic week and blessings to all. And I hope everyone's internet works without any problems going forward. Thank you so much, Paul. Thanks, Willem. Thanks, Russell. Thanks, Glenn. And thanks, Mona. If I can just ask all the hosts and guests to stay on, we're going to just end quickly with a little video, and then we will stay on and have a quick chat. Thank you. Take care. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.
Welcome to Vision 2026. We give expertise a voice. A platform where bold ideas, lived expertise, and real experience shape how we grow, lead, and create impact in 2026 and beyond. Meet your host, David Bouwer, bid architect and strategic thinker, who helps leaders turn complexity into clarity and gives business leaders a voice that wins in the real world. Marna Rowitz, seasoned strategist and business leader, helping people protect what they've built and grow with clarity, resilience, and foresight. Glenn Leese-Jones, Map 4 life coach with decades of experience guiding people and entrepreneurs to find purpose, set direction, and map their journey to meaningful success. Russell John Fagan, sales mastery trainer, who brings practical sales insight and transformational strategies that help individuals and businesses increase their influence and performance. Wilhelm Lombard, human systems and team performance coach focused on helping organizations strengthen team alignment, leadership energy, and human systems so people are ready for growth before growth exposes weaknesses. Together, we bring unique perspectives and deep expertise so you can think bigger, act bolder, and make 2026 your breakthrough year. Hit that subscribe button now and follow Vision 2026 for your weekly dose of expert insight, future-focused conversations, and real-world perspectives shaping South Africa. This is Vision 2026, giving expertise a voice.
There are so guys. It's
Backstage.
absolutely terrible.
I wonder how my staff is going to be able to work today if the internet is like that, because you're in my office, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm in your office. It's absolutely terrible. It's just.
Okay.
Are you at home? I know, or you're also at the office?
No, I am in Mooikloof and David is in Centurion. Normally
Oh,
our internet is better there than mine is in Mooikloof. So welcome to my world, babes.
No,
I'm so sorry.
Can I interest you to a service provider?
Please. The nice thing about this process is that it actually records from each of our own internet's own. So hopefully it won't destroy.
David, you're still alive? You're still live?
No, we're not.
Yes, we
Oh,
are.
Oh, good. Well, maybe that's good.
Yeah, I know the people can see there are real people behind this show.
Yeah, we'll see that with some real people. No, I must say,
And
I'm very disappointed. Yeah, it's not wanting to end.
So are you happy? Is that what you wanted?
No, Paul. Hold a second. Let's just try. Maybe it's a good idea just to keep it on. Let's go around the room and just talk about it. I mean, I loved what you had to say, Paul. So I didn't hear much.
Okay.
Luckily,
All right.
luckily you know the code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's Glenn, go for it. To give us some feedback.
Well,
Okay, were you on board most of the time?
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, it was fun this side. Yeah, Paul, thanks very much, man. I relate this so much to the relationship marketing course that I did so many years ago, that driver, analytical, etc. Very similar concepts. And it really does work very well. One of the things that I spoke about in terms of the question that I asked, can you overuse it and that type of thing? What I did find, though, was that when I was trying to really focus and concentrate on this, when I was doing the sales and stepping in and trying to figure out, now, who is this person? What are they doing? Then trying to adapt to it. I was doing that so much that I actually forgot to really listen to the person. And so as a result of that, it became a problem. But I do so believe this, that it does work, but you've got to actually apply it in the sense that don't overthink it. but if you understand the principles, then it works.
If I can just use, and I don't want to sell things over here, but let's say the cards. So if you have the cards in front of you and you've arranged your cards and it's, let's say, orange, red, green, blue, I don't have to think at all about the cards. I literally listen to the person because I've got an image in front of me. I've got the cards in front of me. If I do lose track, I can glance down at the cards, look at the prompting and say, oh, this person loves teamwork. And I can say, tell me a little bit about how this map for life would impact your team. And he said, I'm glad you asked that question. So it's a prop that you can look at, which I think a lot of the other systems, I've been on enough sales training, and Russell, I'm sure, is trained as well. You run through the script, make sure you do this. By the time the training is cool, but now you get into a situation at home, you think, what did I have to say to the person? Okay, did I break their train of thought? Did I create a joke? Did I build rapport? Oh my gosh. And so then we don't do it. Whereas this provides them, and that's why, and I'll try and show you on my phone, every single person that I've banked basically has in my diary has a code. I'm going to show you now. Where, as an example, I don't know whether you can see it over there. Where's my camera?
Oh, no, we can't really see it.
I'm disappearing. But anyway, but you can see the colors over there. You'll see that.
I can see that. I can see that.
When I go to a meeting, I know who I'm dealing with.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's important. Very important. No, brilliant.
That's actually a brilliant idea. That's a brilliant idea. I love that idea. So actually, yeah. You often forget what your bank code is, or what your own bank code is even. But let's go to you.
I've started just using the top one. I forget about the other three. I just say, guys, just focus on your main one.
Yeah. Well, Helen? Yeah, everything went well except for you, David. And I'm just lucky that Elon Musk didn't listen into this, because you talk about going to the moon. Hy is lankal verby die maan, Pella. So Paul, it's Mars. Yeah,
but there's still no place on the moon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we need to build a hotel on Mars. That's the
Yeah, but that was great. I really enjoyed it.
I want to say something about Trump. I don't have anything about Trump. Like, I do like him, I don't like him, but he is entertaining. I mean, if I can't sleep, listen to what he had. What has he done today? So yeah, he's a bit of an entertainment too.
Maar jy weet, maar dit is nou die ding wat ek nou gesê het hierso, is van, daar's ietsie wat ek hou van Trump. Al dink ek hy's maar 'n pampoenkop, maar daar's ietsie wat ek hou van hom. En nou het ek agtergekom hoekom dalk, jy weet, ek het dalk daai relation nou, ja, dit was my 'n eye opener, jy weet, so openbaring, so dankie vir dit, Paul. Nou verstaan ek beter. En dan ook hoekom jy dalk nie met mense lekker relate nie, want jy het nou daai freaking value system wat jy optel, en sien jy, maar daar's geen rede hoekom ek nou nie eintlik van hierdie ou hou nie, maar ek hou nie van hierdie ou nie, jy weet, maar nou verstaan ek dalk bietjie beter. Ja, baie dankie daarvoor. Excellent.
That was a total eye-opener. Very much of an eye-opener for me. Glenn, from your point of view?
There's I wonder if I should say that we're still live, by the way.
Yeah,
we are live. So
yeah. There's a spiritual aspect to the whole Trump story as well that people possibly misunderstand. I can actually send something through to you guys on WhatsApp, and something that took place in Butler when they tried to assassinate him, and from a biblical perspective as well. And so that's also one of the reasons why many of us, depending on our faith, why we also are attracted and not attracted to him, if you understand what I mean by that. But that's a whole other story entirely. So, but yeah, just coming back to the bank code, Paul, I think it's brilliant. And I've certainly used and applied the relationship marketing throughout my entire life since the time that I did it, which is probably back in 1987, I think it was. And interesting enough, I've done that thing 3 times on 3 different occasions with spaces of like 5-10 years in between, and every single time I came out as an amiable, which would probably put me as nurturing. The interesting thing is that there's a continuum that they use in terms of adaptability. Every single time I did it, I came out in excess of 95%. So that's exactly how it is. That it proves it works. So yesterday I was sitting with a couple of guys, and we were chatting, and I was actually sitting there thinking, I'm the nurturing guy, but I really want this guy just to get to the end of this. I want action. Let's just get the point, but let's phone now. So it was so interesting for me, that yeah, we do adapt sometimes when we need to.
If I think about when I started my business, I had to become someone else. I had to become my business in the beginning, and I found it very difficult because, in essence, I'm actually a very introverted person. I like to be on my own sometimes, and just my family and not a lot of people around me. But when you are in business, you really have to do that ship-shaped and to become someone else in order to survive. And I think life taught me a lot of survival skills. So that's one of the things that helped me survive, is to become someone else almost. But the difficulty is to stay yourself in that process. But you have to adapt. Adapt or die, they say.
Well, that's part of leadership, Paul. That's part of leadership. Yeah.
I made a comment on one of the posts, David, and this ties. Let's use Trump as an example. His original parents that came were very action orientated. So Trump's father was structured because there was so much action. Because Trump's father was structured, he's action. So people like his children, Don Jr., Barron, all those guys, will be very structured. Most of them generally, they won't be action oriented. Their children will be action. So each time it swaps, because we try and improve everything. So your kids, if you didn't have stuff as a child growing up, you'll do everything in your power to give them that. And in giving them that, they realize that there's stuff that they miss. So we keep this whole cycle. So you can go back generations and see how this changes with your kids as well. It's fascinating. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, sure. That's very interesting, because if I look at my grandfather, he was very much an action-orientated individual, and he was an adventurer, and he did things that were extraordinary. Like he drove, and in 1927 he drove from Cairo to Cape Town in 40 days, which was like a record at that time. And, he did other things that were just amazing. He even walked between Cape Town and Kenya. I mean, hello. That's craziness, isn't it? But the fact is that he was very much action orientated, and my dad wasn't. So my dad was very much a blueprint, and I'm action. So not as crazy as my grandfather, but yeah. So I see what you
100%.
mean.
100%.
That's what I done.
That's what I done. Yeah.
Well, only you're going to know, because Ellen didn't know your grandfather. So.
But again, he's still crazy. Yeah, not as crazy.
Yeah, I give him my opinion.
But go back into your lineage. I mean, Wilhelm.
The crazy part. You're right.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying Wilhelm's crazy.
Are you going to go and have a hot bath now?
I'm on a working holiday. I need to go to my
Yeah.
client today. Do some
All
work
right,
with
guys,
him,
we'll have
so
a great week.
I'm on my way.
Away from your
Okay.
caravan to, oh,
Do,
all right.
David,
Ciao, guys.
do we
Take
have to
care.
stay?
Hey.
Hang on. David, you said that we had to stay. You're going to stop the live, and then we have to stay on until
Yes,
it's recorded
yeah,
or something.
yeah.
So do you have to stop the
Oh my
and
word.
then how long do you have to stay on for it to record?
Correct.
Yeah.
So I'm going to end it
I
now.
unfortunately have to go now. My next meeting is about to
Yeah, I'm going
start.
to end it. Hold on.
So
Oh, let's see.
I must
Let's
also
see.
go
Simona,
to you.
lekker af verder weer.
Oh, good.
bye, Julle. And thanks
Yes,
for an
yes.
awesome show. It was
Okay.
great.